Hello. Well, let's just say I'm definitely not well. I definitely didn't recover fully, so I'm still taking antibiotics and a bit harder to get up this morning than I thought it would be. So yes, I'm a little bit on the slow slide. But don't worry, we're still going to do some painting because that's the whole point of this is for me to chill out and do some painting. I have picked the Oaken bolter for today, and I will put up a poll, and feel free to chat about that topic, and I will probably talk about it because I have been kind of thinking about it a little bit. So yeah. So grab your paints, your miniatures, your brushes, get yourself organised, grab some food, some drink. You can hang out with me for an hour or so while I do this, and we'll see how far we get through this. So yeah, let's crack on in. Hi, welcome to How to RPG. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I'm going to be painting a Oaken bolter. What is that? Well, I'm going to show you. It's this thing. It's the Oaken bolter. The thumbnail should tell you everything. I have already coated this thing a little bit. I've already done some work on it, for those of you who are wondering. Yes, I have. What do I do? Actually, I put, it's already good, it's pre-primed. It didn't actually need any flashing cleaning. Like, there was no flashing anywhere as far as I could tell. Either that or my eyes are so bad that I couldn't see it. So the cleanup on this was like almost non-existent, which is great. I love that. It's nice when a miniature's like that. But I used, over the top of that, the Owlbear brown, which is an army painter paint. I had to do two coats. One coat was still looking see-through, so two coats seems to have done it. And then I've got to try to figure out how to get at everything, which is, I have to say, it's probably going to be very difficult. I'm probably going to go over this with like a dry brush brown and sort of lighten up areas, and then I'm going to pick out the details. So there's a lot of detail work for today. Okay, so if you're wondering, this is the Minotaur hide that I'll be using. And if you're wondering, Fred, you kind of sound a little bit worse than yesterday. Yeah, maybe so. It's been so wet and scummy. It's been quite cold too, so that hasn't helped. So let's put a little bit of this out, see if this works, and then I'll have to paint all the details over that. Let's see, what have we got here? I need a piece of paper. I do have sort of a guide, although I don't know if I'm going to follow the guide exactly. It looks too brown and bronze for my liking, but you never know. Pale Rider. That looks like a nightmare to paint. Pale Rider, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's not the sort of miniature that I would usually purchase, because I would look at it and think, no, I don't want to paint that. It does look like a nightmare. I totally agree. I'm glad you think the same way. So it's got to be done in such a way that I can put it aside and say, okay, I've had enough. And I think that's the first thing I'm going to come to the conclusion of, like, yeah, there's only so much I can do with this thing. So yes, painting it to the exact scheme is probably not going to be happening. So let's go. Oh, okay. Is the brown coming off? It is coming off. Okay. Along the side. Along this side. Yeah, there we go. We'll get this done. Don't you worry. He says in his last words. Okay, so this is really, I'm not doing anything terribly fancy here, if you were wondering, people. I really am. I'm not. I have no intentions of getting too fancy with this thing, because it would just be too hard. And my eyes aren't that great, so I will miss stuff more than likely. So feel free to point it out. You're in winter, correct? It's actually autumn, but I like to remind myself that winter and autumn are essentially the same. So, and it doesn't snow here. Like, so if you're thinking, oh, you must have snow going on. No, it's not like that. But it gets very damp and it gets very cold, and we are close to the South Pole, New Zealand. So that means southern winds. So it can't be that pleasant at times. We are subtropic. New Zealand's supposed to be subtropic. For those of you who are unsure what I mean, it means that we're not quite in the tropical region. We are subtropical. But see, if you, I always do better in summer. That's just a fact. As soon as we hit the other seasons, I'm like, okay, it's like winter all year round. Should I say 9 months of the year, winter. Feels like that sometimes. Okay, so I think that did that. And I don't think I'm going to need a dry brush after that, because now I'm going to have to use a very fine brush for the rest of it. And we'll put that aside. So I thought we would talk about remastering the Barbarian. I think the Barbarian is the hardest class, one of the hardest classes that I could think of in terms of what to do with it. Because I don't have enough to base off how you would build out the things that it needs. I know there's a couple of things that are pretty obvious that I think the design team are already doing, which make perfect sense to me. Like, that's what I would do as well. But they haven't really done it the way that I would have done it. So I thought I would talk about what I would do. And if you like it, cool. And if you don't, cool too. But I will at some point be doing something with it. In other words, I will... I don't think I can even use a standard brush on this. I'm going to have to go straight to a much finer brush for almost all of it. I think that's the case, is I'm going to have to go to a much finer brush for almost all of it. I also have to decide what parts do I want to be metal and what parts do I don't want to be metal. And I think that is going to be my next problem. So, I don't want rage. I don't want to see a limited... There's too many limited resources. And rage is one of those things for the Barbarian. So for me, that's the first thing I would change. Limited resource, there's not going to be a number of times that you can use it. No, it just needs to be set up in such a way that it will work. And I think the easiest way is to just state that it lasts for a minute, and that at the end of the minute you're exhausted, and wind up one step down the exhaustion track for an hour. You don't mean you have to take a short rest, but you were exhausted for an hour. And disadvantage would be fine. Disadvantage on 20-sided dice rolls, or even if it's different from the actual exhaustion mechanic. We're coming up on hurricane season. The weather people say it's supposed to be a light season, so I'm expecting it to be the opposite. Okay, all right, that's good to know. So let's going to go with the Dwarven Bronze. Now, the Dwarven Bronze I've found to always be garbage. It goes on really badly. So it means I'm going to probably have to attack it multiple times for it to actually work. So we'll see how we go. Yeah, he says last words. Okay. All right. So I think I got my towel. I've got my brush. And let's see if we can get the first. So I'm going to go along this banded edge. I think that's the first thing I'm going to do is banded edge of the wheel. Which means I'm going to probably have, I can just see it now. I'm going to have to do some repaints. There's going to be a whole bunch of, touch up time, touch up. So yes, that was what I wanted to do with the Barbarian's Rage. I think survival and animal handling should be standard for a Barbarian. I don't think it should be something, it's just not a skill that you just decide you will pick or not pick. I think it's just something that you should just have. I think that's the one thing that I don't like, because it doesn't make sense that they don't have those. Animal handling and survival, even if it was just survival as a skill, standard, always. And I want to build on that survival aspect of it, but I'm still really kind of stuck as to how to do that. I don't think it's quite as clear as I would like it to be in terms of how I'd do that. But I've plenty of time to figure that out. When I start doing the live streams for all of these rebuilds on the classes, I'm sure I will eventually figure it out. Somebody will throw in some good ideas. The other one is Primal Champion. I think it undermines all the class levels. Having Primal Champion is probably one of the better high level 20 capstones that any of the classes have, but because of its very nature, I think it's too good. I think increasing 2 of your numbers by 4 is way too much. So it's one of those things that I I want to adjust. I don't know how to go about doing that just yet. I keep looking at those epic boons, and those epic boons aren't that epic, so I haven't figured out how to do that, but I'm sure I will. I've got a few ideas that I will present, and you guys can decide which ones you kind of like the sound of, or maybe suggest some of your own. I'm sorry if I'm having to clear my throat. I've got a lot of mucus, okay? I always thought of a barbarian as fighters with high strength and almost supernatural constitution with wildness type skills. Yes, yeah, and this is why the survival thing sort of came to me as like it should be a factor. How's it going, Dungeons and Chronics? How are you doing? So I am just picking out the band of metal here. An hour of fine detail. How's that sound? Resistance to harsh environments too. Yeah, I was actually thinking in terms of the desert and the tundra, like the frozen wastes, were the 2 locations which I thought they needed to have some sort of advantage in. But we'll get back to that, don't you worry. So where was I? I was using... I'm going to use a little bit of dark brown to just fix a little error. I think the problem with a miniature like this is because it's got such fine little bits and pieces, a little mistake is going to bug me just too much. Anyway, going back to this, Indomitable Might is no benefit when I actually already use ability scores in my games. So Indomitable Might is completely pointless. So I think it's to be ditched. I think all classes, like all characters, should be using the ability score, not just the ability modifier for determining success and failure. And so for me, that is just one rule that, or class feature that needs to go, because it's just not going to work out in the game that I run. You know what I mean? When it should be like a standard mechanic, in my opinion. Okay, next. I've got that band there. What did I do? Oh, here, this is it. So this is really strange. I'm probably going to go with what looks like metal. That looks metallic there in the front, so we'll do that. I should probably still attack the wheels, but I won't just yet. Come back to them. So we'll do this band here, along here. I think this is definitely a metal section. You just got home? Oh, okay. I remember the AD&D Barbarian, almost impossible to play unless you just love destroying magic things. Yeah, they used to destroy magic items. And my players were, when we were discussing the Barbarian, like, oh, Barbarians used to destroy magic items. You couldn't have one in a party because they just keep destroying everybody's magic items. And I'm like, oh, God. And so I think that's one of the first things I looked at, and I thought, no, that can't happen. We have too many hassles going on if that was to be a thing. So that's the first thing I would probably change. I wouldn't bring that over from AD&D. Although there were a few of my players, or friends of my home group, that were laughing at the prospect of it. But yeah, I don't think it's a good idea. Just my opinion. Oh, I need an angle that's going to work for me. There. Okay. And just work my way along. Okay, there's a little bit of brown that needs to go back on there, so I will do that. So Indomitable Might for me needs to go and be replaced with something else. Persistent Rage. Rage shouldn't end unless the battle is over for me. So I feel like a battle is usually going to last roughly 1 minute, So that should be sufficient to get the job done. It shouldn't, you know, if you've got a battle that's going on for more than 10 rounds, oh my god. Like, talk about hell. There aren't too many battles that I can think of, if any, that I've run for 5th edition, that have run for 10 rounds or more. Can you even imagine it? I can't even imagine having to deal with that. It would be too much. Now, you might be thinking, oh, Fred, it sounds like you're just making the barbarian more powerful. But actually, you know, I do have some other ideas floating around in my little head. So don't panic. Don't panic. And we'll play test all this stuff myself in my home group. But playtesting, you know, playtesting is one of those things where, are you playtesting to see if people like it, or you're playtesting to see if it's balanced? And as we know right now, Wizards of the Coast is not really playtesting for balance as far as I'm concerned, although they've done a few things that do suggest that. I've heard people say that Pathfinder 2nd edition is very balanced. Yeah, games always seem very balanced when they first come out. And then after that, as they try to sell more stuff, it becomes very unbalanced. So I don't think that's going to last. What was the other thing I was thinking about? Yes. Relentless Rage needs to be earlier. I think Relentless Rage needs to kick in a lot sooner rather than later. It was one of those features which I actually thought, well, actually, that's a good one to have. The way that it works, though, is try not to duplicate the half-orc, which, of course, will be the orc feature soon, because we won't have half-orcs, well, not in the player's handbook anyway, for the revised version. Not that I care. I'll do my own thing anyway. But yeah, I think that it definitely needs to kick in a little bit earlier. It's taking up a spot which I want to use for something else. Okay, so that's that. I think I need to do a little bit of tidy up here. Hi, Julius. How are you? Nice to have you here. Right, so I did a little bit of a boo-boo here on this. So I'm just going to clean that up now. I didn't do it straight away because I was... I almost threw the brush right across the room. Ultimate Rage. You get even higher bonuses, but you have to make a death save or your heart explodes. Yeah, probably not. But funny, but funny. I mean, that is a bit like the Rage, isn't it? The Rage is one of those things where you look at it and like, will they survive the actual process? Okay, now, the spinners, do I want them to be this color or I want them to be something else? That's the question. I think this edge here should also be bronze. Well, this is going to be just a pig to paint, though. Look at this. This is all hold your breath sort of stuff. Oh, I think next time they give me miniatures this small, I'm going to just give them away. Because it's just... it's just too small. And it's going to be so easy for me to make a mistake. I can see it now. Alright. What else was there that was floating through my head? Yes. Everything that the barbarian gets. Has anybody noticed that everything that the barbarian gets is combat? There's nothing else. It's almost as if the barbarian was actually built to just do one thing. It's kind of like the fighter too. The fighter suffers from the same problem of being only able to actually do fighty stuff, but nothing else interesting. Which kind of means that you wind up sitting back there while everybody else does the other two pillars of play, which is weird. I don't like that as a feature of the class myself. Next, what do we got here? Did I get this one done properly? No. Let's do the other side. So it's Friday for me, so I won't be painting tomorrow, for those of you who are wondering. I've been reading a few books, or working my way through one or two books, should I say. I wouldn't say I've been reading a whole bunch of books, but when you've got a book that's 400 pages long, it takes a little while to get through it. But still, it's been a fun process. I don't often get time to sort of just sit down and check stuff out, have a bit of a read, see what people have done. And it's been nice. I've been watching a lot of Dungeon Crawl Classics videos on Jordan's second channel. And for the life of me, I can't remember the name of his channel, second channel. That's Jordan, the PH is silent. In fact, Jordan sent me a message today and saying, is this you? Because I keep getting all of these messages saying, thanks, thanks, thanks. I thought it was a robot. And I'm like, no, that's actually me. I'm just writing thanks. That's all. I didn't do anything else. I just wrote thanks. Watched it, thanks. Yep, next one. So he thought it was some sort of robot, but it wasn't. It was me. Okay, next on my list of things I wanted to do. Does anybody remember that the Barbarian used to be able to summon the Barbarian Horde? I want to bring back Summon the Barbarian Horde. I almost feel like Summon the Barbarian Horde is like a capstone feature. I almost feel like that should be the capstone for the Barbarian. I can summon the Barbarian Horde. I can summon an army of barbarians to go to war. I don't know how people feel about that, but I like the idea a lot. Because at level 20, it doesn't matter. The kind of things that you're doing are probably pretty outrageous as it is. Level 20, good time to do it, if you ask me. Okay. So, summon the Barbarian Horde, which means you get to summon, I think it was 100 and something. Could give the Barbarian some type of sense magic. See, the problem for me is I think the issue with the Barbarian is the drop down and trying to pursue the idea of it destroying magic. I don't think Barbarians have anything to do with magic in that sense. You know, destroying magic I always thought was a silly idea. But, you know, to each their own. Let's just get a little bit of paint along there. This edge is going to be just... This is appallingly difficult to get at. Oh, okay. All right. Now it's getting really hard. Also, special skills. I think being able to find food in a desert or tundra location, like a frozen waste, or you know, where there isn't very much food, I think that's something that barbarians should be able to do. I would like that to be part of their thing. I'm not suggesting they can find enough food for an entire party, but just for themselves, yes. That sounds very barbarian-like. Well, that worked really well. Yeah. You can see just how difficult it is to get to this thing. I'm all over the place. Trying to get the brush here, there, and everywhere. And it ain't so easy. All right, Okay, so that's those wheels on that side kind of done. Let's grab some more of this. I'm not out of it yet. So that's one of the ideas I was thinking, because I was going back to and thinking in terms of like the Bushmen in Africa and the Aborigines, and I was thinking it's kind of where my head was at with that idea. Is it like the fact that they would be able to find roots, dig them up, access water, things like that. And good lord, what's the angle that I need to get to this? Okay, all right. Well, there's one more wheel to go. Yeah. I was thinking since they do have anything to do with magic, I was thinking since they do have anything to do with magic, when it is around, they know something is off, or not that they don't just not that they dislike it, just that they know that there's some immediate. Yeah, for me, I still don't. When I think of the barbarian, I think of Conan the Barbarian, and I just don't see it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, let's get real. Conan the Barbarian is really where that class came from, and I know Conan is kind of more of a thief barbarian because he used to steal stuff all the time. But I just don't see it. This is what makes the barbarian so difficult to design for, if you ask me, is not knowing what are you trying to duplicate that is the fantasy. Because did anybody ever think, oh, I want to play a barbarian so I can destroy weapons or sense their magic? It's really, really weird. It's so strange. Okay, so I'm going to do a bit of a clean up here. You may not be able to see very much what I'm doing because I've got to get really close and I've got to use some brown to clean up some of the lines I put in. And this is probably the hardest bit on the wheels to deal with. It's mostly all right. Okay, cool. Next, looking at this, thinking hard about what I'm going to do next. I think I'm going to go with the silver color here. I was thinking that a lot of the studs should be silver. Actually, the front has got that plate and the back has got that plate. I want to do them as well. I'll paint those. I'll put the bronze on there as well. It kind of makes sense. That gives the paint time to actually settle before I do anything else with it. Okay, cool. Let's do this. And that plate should be at least, I can probably go to a larger brush. Let's go for a larger brush. So the other thing that was percolating through my mind is I want the barbarian to have a special mount. At some point, I want them to get a special mount. And I was trying to think what would be an appropriate special mount. And I haven't kind of nailed this down completely, but I know that riding a war elephant or having an elephant as a mount, maybe not a war elephant to start off with, but maybe just a mount would be an elephant, and later on you get a war elephant. It would be, because war elephants would be really expensive. Or camels, like camels, desert. You can't really ride a polar bear. Polar bear is not really built for that sort of thing, so that didn't make sense. So I'll have a think about it. I was trying to think of some sort of fantastical creatures that a barbarian might ride, but I didn't want to give them the likes of the Pegasus, because I feel like the Pegasus, riding a Pegasus is the ranger. If anybody who knows anything about Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, that was a thing. You could actually have a Pegasus in the past. And I will be bringing that back for the ranger. But I do not want to include it for the barbarian. So riding a Pegasus doesn't seem like a good idea. I don't want to bleed into some of the other classes too much if I can help it. So, oh, this is going to be difficult. Just here, just underneath that little bit there that's coming down. But it's on. In the front at least, and that's easier to access. Look at this. This is significantly easier to actually paint. What is it? Barbarian Horde is the Barbarian's experience point divided by 1,000. At level 8, it would be 275, and at 9th level it would be 500. Interesting. So I would have to change the numbers. I think what I would do is I would, instead of it being, yeah, I think the Barbarian Horde for me is going to be a really high level feature. Rather than it, and I don't think it'll necessarily be a specific number, although maybe it will. We'll see. I still haven't decided all of this stuff, but the Barbarian Horde for me comes back. I just don't know how it'll look. A dire polar bear. I don't want them to. A T-Rex. I could see them riding a T-Rex. I could see that for sure. Pale Rider. Prepare, cook, and survive. Hello. I'm painting, so yeah. Riding a T-Rex, yes. I wanted to have mounts that weren't just like going to be used for battle, because this is one of the things that keeps cropping up every time I look at the Barbarian. Like, how do I do something like this or with it without it just being another combat feature? And this is one of the problems, is I keep falling back to that. So I feel like the mount feature needs to have an aspect to it. I'll do these bolts on either side in this colour as well. Has to have an aspect to it that isn't just always let's beat the crap out of something. And trying to come up with some solutions to that is actually really difficult. Put a bit more of this on. Okay, cool. I'm going to go to a finer brush because I can't get at that bolt properly with this brush. This is too big. The other thing is I wanted them to have followers. So well before the Barbarian Horde becomes an option for the Barbarian, I wanted them to have followers. So like tribal warriors. So maybe that would be the lower level sort of aspect of it. I was thinking at least starting off with one sort of follower as a tribal warrior that would follow you around to help out with stuff. And then over time you add more and more and more. And then of course then it gets supplanted by the Barbarian Horde. Although the Barbarian Horde, I feel like it's just you can call the Barbarian Horde to help you in a really dire situation. Like a last resort. So I think that's probably where my head is going. Oh, okay, now I'm going to have to turn this. Ah, man. Lost control of the brush completely then. Okay, alright. You can see how difficult it is to get at that bolt. That bolt is just impossible to reach properly. And did I do anything else? Yeah, there was a bit of overspill over there. We'll just touch up as well. Okay, so for anybody who's wanting to paint the Oaken bolter, don't buy it. Buy something else. If it didn't turn you off now, I don't know what did. The other thing that I was thinking too, like having a special mount, camel, elephant, T-Rex, I suppose. I'll sure I'll come up with something else. You could potentially ride a rhinoceros, but a rhinoceros does not like being ridden. Although it's physically you could get away with it. Or obviously a horse is not a problem. Like riding a horse, yeah, that'd be the first thing you can get access to, right? But I was also thinking it would be cool if we gave something like a fort or a fortress. It would be not the same thing as a castle for a barbarian, But a wooden fortress, or should I say a wooden fort, or some sort of fortress, maybe one built into the stone or the rock, might be fun for them at higher level, you know, like maybe about level 10, 11, something like that. And the other thing I wanted to sort of peruse was, I want them to have access to sailing ships, a wagon or a chariot. Obviously we start low when we build ourselves up, but I thought those would all sort of be very suitable for the barbarian. I'm even considering the idea of including I don't know necessarily a spelljammer ship, but a submarine. And I know that sounds weird, but I think a sailing ship for sure. And maybe a battle wagon of some kind as well would be nice. Okay, so that's that. Okay, next. Things that I want to paint. I don't think those leaf bits on there should be the colour they are. Those ribs along there look like they should be metal, so I'm going to make them metal. Let's see if we can use this colour here. This is a pain, definitely a pain. So yeah, so what sort of vehicles do people think would be kind of work? How's it going, Ancient Dragon? Your magical viewing device is not working properly. That's not good. Did you finish the skeletons? Yes, I have almost finished the skeletons. I have to do one dry brush. I actually washed them last night. And when I get a chance, I will do some shorts and some photos. I'll do some shorts and photos, and I'll stick them up on the channel so you can see the finished result, okay? Oh. You can't see what I'm doing because I got to see what's going on. Oh, this is so hard. This is so hard to get at. Oh, I dislike this miniature a lot. So much. I dislike this miniature so much. Did you finish it? AD, have you praised the God machine? It helps. Oh, brilliant. So I guess the other thing when I was thinking of chariots, and I know I'm on the right track with this. I was thinking gladiator, and I know chariots sort of suggest that you are a bit more advanced. I get it, but it's really just a small wagon. Really, a chariot's just a small wagon. And I don't think that... I actually see the barbarian as being more capable at making stuff than I think a lot of people might consider. So I actually have started to look at some of those things as skills that they might have. I don't know if people are sort of, you know... Might be a mighty dragon. Might be a mighty dragon. Oh, okay. One thing I was really liking the idea is the ability to talk to the spirit ancestors at high level. So a barbarian who can talk to their spirit ancestors and get information from them, like, you know, passing the peace pipe around and chilling out, doing their thing. Sorry, you can't see what's going on. It's just, if I don't do that, I can't see either. I'll bring it back into view in a second. So yes, I think that's an aspect to the barbarian I want to add as well, is speaking to the spirit ancestors. Because now we can use that feature as a way of communicating additional information. It's now their sort of like their gather information tool. It's a new thing in the toolbox. Okay, that's good. That's fine. So yes, speak with the ancestors at high level. Forging their own special weapon at 17th level. I was trying to think, should it be a magical weapon? But I like the idea of the barbarian has to forge their own weapon. That it's not gifted to them, that they actually have to muscle it up. That at this point they will have learned enough skills to be able to to forge out their own weapon of destruction. And okay, so this whole armature I actually think should be bronze. And the section below, I don't know why it's... What is that? Is it going to be wooden? Okay, so I know what I want to do. I'm going to switch my brush. Yeah, passing the pipe. Exactly, passing the pipe. Pass the peace pipe, people. My ancestors need to talk to me. You can't tell me that that's not the sort of thing that you were thinking a barbarian would do. Pass the peace pipe. Let my ancestors try. You know, tell me what I should do next. Give me the lowdown. Peace pipe news. I like the idea a lot, and I'm sure if I mention it to my group, they're gonna just laugh their heads off and say yes, do that. So yeah, I think it's going to be an easy win, that one. Let's do the side, and then I'll just maneuver from there. What else was the other one? Yeah, so forging their own weapon. You know, whether it's magical or not, it's going to have some sort of benefits because it's their weapon. Even if they forge a weapon and it's coated in silver, would be quite useful, right? I'm actually thinking that I can still get them to build a weapon that's really, really good, but it's not magical as such. It's not considered magical, although it could be imbued with the spirit ancestors' power. So it might be primal power that powers it, rather than magical power. Primal power might be a good idea. I hadn't thought about that. It just popped into my head now. So they forge their weapon, and it's primal power that drives this thing. It's not arcane, it's not divine, it's something else. That's actually quite a cool idea. Okay, so as you can see, I'm running out of this paint, but I'll put some more out in a second. I think it was the right thing to do, though. This bit looks really mechanical, so I think it makes sense that it actually be bronzed up. Right, let me just wash out the brush and do the next layer of this thing. You're probably wondering, am I going to use any other colour other than this? Yeah, I will. I don't know that I'll be using a lot of different colours, because I think the initial... I think the miniature itself sort of suggests that there aren't that many colours going on. But anyway. Pass it this way too. Yeah. It's almost midnight, much time. I'm getting my cook on, going silent for a bit. Not a problem. You prepare, cook, survive. You go cook your food. I usually cook at this time at 6. Yeah, no problems. Go cook your food. Absolutely, people. I totally understand. I'm painting at this time because it's convenient for my time zone. It's not like when I'm on holiday, I'm not really thinking about everybody else's time zone. I'm just thinking the first thing I want to do when I get up almost is like have a shower, clean myself up, and then paint. So that's how I sort of structured it. It's not like, what does YouTube think I should do? When's the best time for me to live stream? What does YouTube say? I'm not really thinking about that right now. When do I have to go to work? Well, not thinking about that either. Okay, so this is... I think I am definitely going to have to go around this. And this brush is too big for this, so I'm going to have to use something else. Is that... It's an Oaken bolter. It's like a ballista. Does that make sense? It's like I guess an animated ballista. I suppose you could consider it like that. It's really weird, isn't it? It's an odd miniature, it really is. Now, another thing that I was percolating through my mind, and I'm thinking I like the idea of the barbarian must forge their own weapon. I wanted to give them the ability, I wanted to give them an ability that was not combat, but was kind of tied to the warrior barbarian, and I want them to be blacksmiths. I think when I think about Conan, which the barbarian is very much based off, I think of his father. Does anybody remember the original movie? And his father, he tells him tells him about steel, and how important steel is, and his father is the one who forges the sword that he winds up accessing later on. It's his father's sword. Do you know what I mean? Because his father was a blacksmith out of everybody else. Now, maybe that's not necessarily required, but I feel like giving them as a standard thing outside of backgrounds, either masonry, carpentry, or blacksmith. And the reason I'm thinking this way is because they would have built their own structures. They would have got somebody else to do it. They would be very self-reliant. When I think about a barbarian, I think somebody living on a lifestyle block where they have to learn to do everything for themselves, because there's no way they can pay somebody else to necessarily do it for them. So they would have to make their own horseshoes for their horses. They would have to build their own buildings or structures. So they would have to know how to use stone. They'd have to know how to make bricks. They'd have to know how to use mud. They would have to know how to work with wood, because there's going to be some sort of wood involved at some point. And obviously, you wouldn't necessarily have all those skills in one barbarian, but maybe you do. Maybe actually now here down the side here, there's another band. I'm going to actually colour that in as well. Get a bigger brush for it. Yeah, it shoots big, huge arrows. Yes, that's exactly it. So I'm thinking that giving them blacksmith, masonry, and carpentry as things that are part of their class. So that now the reason I want blacksmith is because I want them to be able to repair their own armor, or repair other people's armor, repair weapons, forge and make their own weapons. So it's kind of like that rite of passage where you don't buy your own buy weapons. You would make your own weapon. As a barbarian, you would forge your own steel. You would forge your own weapon. It wouldn't be something that you would. It would be very personal. And I like that as a concept for the barbarian. I don't know how you guys, people think about it, feel about it, but that's where my head is going right now with regard to the barbarian. Is I want to give them those sort of things, because now they can repair a wheel. Like when a wheel is damaged, they would be the ones who would be able to repair the wheel, because they would have those skills. Or if they are having to, repair a structure, they would have those skills. They wouldn't necessarily be really good at making high quality stuff, because their skills would be a little bit different. The kinds of structures that they would be used to making would be very, very different to everybody else's. But yeah, so I guess that's where my head is going. So this has actually got an arrow sticking out of its mouth, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make that a different color. So we're switching from the bronze to a silver color now, to kind of represent things that are, I guess, what's the word? That are more metallic, more sort of steel-like rather than bronze. So yeah, this is Silver Dragon. Silver Dragon goes on like garbage, by the way, I've discovered. So it means multiple layers to actually get it to work properly, which is painful. Just give me a second. I need to have a drink of water. I'm getting dry. Okay. Right, back to the painting thing. Very fine brush. because I'm never going to get in there otherwise. There's too many little bits and pieces that need to be this silvered, so we'll make it a bit more interesting. So inside there is the arrow that shoots out. So we'll get it painted, and I think that is it on that bit. Okay, cool. And I think what I'll do is along the wheels, these bits here, and I'm going to make them silver rather than bronze. Can you see what I'm doing? Another thing is hunting. How do people think about the idea? I think it's kind of a cool idea, but how do you feel about a barbarian who, because they're not farmers so much, barbarian, right? You wouldn't need, I mean, I suppose they could be. I kind of see the barbarian as a hunter-gatherer. So I think they should be good at hunting. Let's put a lot of paint on real fast. That was a bit of a mess. I'll clean it up later. You got a question, Dungeons & Chronics? Does armor weapons take damage in your game? No, it doesn't. But there are monsters that can damage armor and weapons. So a rust monster can damage your weapons and armor. Oozes can damage your weapon and armor, particularly the black pudding. There are other creatures that would damage and destroy your armor and your weapons. So I still think that there's an aspect to it. Adding in damage to your weapons and armor in a game as a standard is kind of not what I do, because I'm minimalist. I like less rules rather than more rules. But I guess another aspect to it is it means that they can repair anything that's made of metal. Potentially. They wouldn't be able to re-imbue magic into a magic weapon, but they could certainly replace sections that had been damaged or, rusted or degraded because of whatever they've been attacking. Now, there aren't that many monsters and creatures that actually do permanent damage to anything. And like magic items seem to be permanently protected from that sort of stuff, which I don't really agree with, but that's beside the point, isn't it? You've still got your mundane stuff that you can work with. So, yeah. It's an idea that I've been floating around. And it's very much taken from Conan's father as a as an idea. Because when you see his village, it's sort of, you get the impression that everybody is sort of what's the word? Very self-sufficient. Like they all have many different skills. Like, that's another thing, is I feel like they should be able to make their own clothes. So hunting for animals for food, but also making their own clothes. So I know that sounds like, why would you do that? Do you need that in a role-playing game? But it means that they can make themselves weather gear from an animal. They can hunt, skin it, and make a weather cloak, like a cold weather cloak. Rather than go and buy one, they would make it. And it's little nuances like that, which I don't know that necessarily people really give a shit about. But it's the sort of thing that I kind of like, and I know my group will. Because they'll lock down onto that sort of stuff. Easy peasies. And I also like the idea of barbarians being able to communicate with animals at high level. Sort of through like a spirit medium of some kind. Maybe it will just be an option rather than standard for whatever I do with a barbarian. But I like the idea that they can actually communicate with animals through the spirits of the animal. And I see lots of opportunity for fun there. Also, I mean, the worst thing for a game master or dungeon master is having to contend with people talking to plants and animals. Because you're always sort of stuck as, oh, what the heck do I say? What does the animal communicate? So I do get the frustration aspect of like, oh God, as a game master, do I really want to deal with that? It would be easier just to deal with combat stuff. But I'll find a way of figuring out how to make it work. Because I can assure you, my group would, because they're all power gamers, they'll figure out how to exploit it. So they'll point out all of the problems real fast. Oh dear. One of those things. It's funny. I've played with them for so long. I think this group that I'm playing with now, I've played with them for longer than any other group I've ever had. And we don't... By Crom, exactly, by Crom. By Crom, you can speak to the animal spirits. So you wouldn't necessarily be talking to, I guess, animals as such. You would be talking to the spirits of animals. The spirit animal of the wild. And I guess a lot of people are thinking, well, that should be like a druid thing or a ranger thing. But I think druids should be able to just speak to animals that aren't just spirits. I don't think it should be a spell. I think it just should be a feature for them. Okay. All right. So I've spent a lot of time on those wheels to try to clean that up. Let's get the tip of that thing coated again, because I'm not really convinced that it's got enough paint on it. And I'm up on the hour mark. Yes, I am. I'm not going to stop, though. I was thinking about this, like, do I want to come back and then do another one? And I'm like, no, I don't really want to do that. So I think what I will do is blow my nose. All right. That should mean I'm capable of keep going for another half hour. So yeah, tell me, what do you think in terms of the barbarian? What would you do with the barbarian to make it more interesting in your games? Okay, so now let's take this, the silver, and over the bronze that I've got, I'm going to pick out some of these studs in the front. With a very small brush. I'm probably going to do something very similar. You're blocking my sun. Am I blocking your sun? Can you not see? So I'm probably going to do something similar. I'm going to take a break for a couple of days and not do any painting live, or probably do any painting at all. And then I come back my Monday, which is I think your Sunday if you're in North America, and continue painting a few more things during that week. Depending on the weather, I might jump onto Discord and be there to chat with if you want. I don't know. I haven't decided if I'll do that or not. If it happens, it happens. I'm not going to promise anything. I need to work on and finish up some of the stuff we were building for Patreon, because there's a whole bunch of stuff that we had built in live streams that hasn't gone up onto Patreon. It's like it's an enormous amount of stuff too. I was looking at some of my videos and I'm like, oh, they just don't get seen. They just it's really weird to find that edited videos get fewer views than anything else now. It's like everybody who was into edited videos on my channel hasn't had that many to actually watch, and they're all gone. You like the Beastmaster? I like the Beastmaster for the Ranger. I always think players, when they play a Beastmaster for the Ranger and it's a 5e1, that they're doing that it's quite exciting to see. But I totally understand people's frustration with a Beastmaster. The problem is that you can't have the Beastmaster Ranger be like 3.5, because that was ridiculous. It was a no-brainer that it was broken as heck. So I think that the answer to that is to do something a little different with it that still gives you a sort of a flavour of that idea. I'm going to use this colour quickly for the eyes on this thing, which is a rust monster colour. So it's actually orange, as you can tell. You know it's orange. I showed you. You saw it. I think the Beastmaster Ranger needs to be a little bit different. I actually feel like the Beastmaster Ranger needs to have telepathy with animals. Does that make sense? Giving the Beastmaster Ranger telepathy with animals, I think makes much more sense for a Beastmaster Ranger. So you can communicate. You don't need to have a spell. There's none of that sort of nonsense going on. But I'll talk more about that in the future, I think. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, let's get these eyes done. What do you got here? I'd have the barbarian be able to go into a berserk trance, then must rest for 2 days. I don't want to do that. The berserker barbarian was really popular in 5e, but also caused too much trouble. Killed too many characters. And also too, in 5e, it's not very good. Nobody likes playing it. So, right, almost immediately, I just don't think so. 2 days rest, no. But I find that your body, usually, if you're pumping adrenaline into it, about an hour later, your body is settled back down again. So I think that's where it needs to be. Plants talk to players. I think plants talking to players, again, I think plants is going to be like a druid thing, not a ranger thing. I think that's a druid thing. I want that for the druid, talking to plants. Has advantage on everything as time is moving slower for them compared to enemies. Oh, okay. I eat barbarians for breakfast. Yeah, I'm sure you do. So as you can see, this colour goes on like garbage. Orange is just, it's not as bad as yellow. This is why I'm going with the orange first, because I'm going to hit it with yellow as well. And just a little bit. I should really probably be using a toothpick, but okay. And one more try on the other side. And then we'll move on and continue with my silvering of studs. The silvering of studs. Look, I hope people don't mind, but I'm going to stick a lozenge in my mouth because it's getting a bit rough in there right now. So water first. Strep salt. And I'm still ready to go. Cool. Right, let's do the next thing. Let's paint the studs on the... I did the ones on the front, so let's do the ones on the back. Okay. One angle, one position. Oh. What a pain. So what class do I talk about on Monday next week? Anybody got a particular favourite that they would like me to cover? I mean, I'm going to cover all these things in the future anyway, but just as a topic of discussion. For those of you who don't know, I actually play a character more than I game master, by the way. Boss Boy. Hey, I just got done painting the same model last week. Excited to see your take on it. Well, don't get too excited because Boss Bully Boy, you know how difficult this thing is to paint. It's a prick. It was really hard to get at. The only thing I can think of is to do sort of fine detail in certain places. But that just runs into more problems, obviously. Sorry you can't see what I'm doing right now. It's just I can't reach it without manoeuvring. From underneath I can see it pretty well. From top, okay. Okay. I think those bands at the back I'm going to do something with. Sonics for 5.5, not a happening. The monk. I think we already I talked about the monk, didn't I? During the week? I'm sure I talked about the monk. I can't imagine. Yeah, no, I talked about the monk when we were painting the La Crota miniature. That was part 2 of La Crota miniature. I talked about the monk then. So it'll be something. It'll have to be something else. I've already covered that one. I used the side of the long brush to get many of the wood grains. Yeah. I don't know. I'm almost tempted to leave the wood grains just because it's so painful. Let me do this. I don't even feel like this is a piece of wood. A piece of wood would not look like this. This is a piece of metal. So we're going to make that bit silver. Do the same thing on the other side. And then on the inside. Who would have a piece of wood that looked like that? It would just break off. Wouldn't make any sense. What else we got here? Okay, Dungeons and Chronics at lunchtime. You go have some lunch. I'm going to have some food pretty shortly too. Let me just clean my brush. Do wizards. You want me to do wizards? Oh, I don't know if people would like what I have to say about. I like wizards, but there's something about wizards that annoys me. They're just too strong. But yeah, okay, wizards. We can do that. I would have an unusual take on it for sure. Okay, so I could use this brush, but that would just make no sense whatsoever. It's too small. Let's take this brush instead. This is the standard brush. It'll probably get it coated a little bit quicker. And inside there... Okay, cool. Got it in. It's happening. I want to learn more about the magic aspects of the game. Do you? Okay. Hey, for any of you who are struggling to play a role-playing game right now, I really do. I highly recommend the Fighting Fantasy books because you can play them solo. That's one of the great benefits of them. It's how I sort of was able to do my own thing for years. Because there wasn't really anybody to play with, and I didn't really know how to play the game anyway. In many respects, I didn't even know how it worked. And even when I got hold of HeroQuest, I still had to rely on the Fighting Fantasy, pick a path game books. I totally get that they don't have the same level of freedom that a role-playing game has. But they do a pretty good job, if you ask me. So, yes. I understand there's an app. There is actually a Fighting Fantasy app that you can actually download for them. So you can access the original books. And they're apparently reprinting a lot, but making more as well. I'm really glad, and I'm actually very happy to hear that that's actually happening. That's so cool. Let me just plug this in here. Okay, so that bit there, covered. Wood grain. I'm going to do the eyes. The eyes are going to bug me, so I'm going to do the eyes now. I'm going to put yellow over it. Ugh, God, the awful yellow. Let me just do this again. We'll be coming back to you very shortly. Okay, yellow. Shake it. Hard. Shake it hard. Shake it hard. Okay. And little spottle here. There we go. Cool, cool, cool. Let's see if we can get this going. Well, actually, before that, I'm gonna let it sit there for a little while, because one of the things I've realised is that yellow works better as it starts to dry. So maybe I'm going to leave that and continue attacking some of the studs that I've got in here. I want studs in this, studs at the front, studs at the back. The studs at the front still need a little bit more work. Making washes were a godsend for this mini as well. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to definitely do washes. I don't think that there's any other choice about the whole thing. Just give me a second while I'm not going to stop painting, but I'm kind of curious. Sorry, people, you get to see my face. Just briefly. And I should have looked this up before. Fighting Fantasy app. Now. Oh my God, it's here. Fighting Fantasy Classics. Fighting Fantasy Classics. It's on the Apple Store and it's on the Google Store. And it's for iOS and for Android. Holy shit. Okay. Well, let me just grab this here thing, and I'm going to chuck this into chat for you. So this is one of the links, and where's another one? Here's the Google one. So if you use Google Apps, I've got to check this out at some point. There's going to be one of my little tasks for after this is doing this. Is go checking out these apps. The Google store is there, and then for those of you who use Apple, here we go. Copy. And let me drop in this one as well. And then I'll go back to painting my miniature. There. Okay. Sweet. Lovely. Amazing. Really amazing. Okay. Alright. That's enough of my face. Let's go back to some painting. Wood grain. Good Lord. I'm just thinking in terms of having to contend with wood grain. So first off, the studs, a silver, a silver, a silver, a bit more, a bit more, a bit more. I've done the back, I did the front. It's all right. Okay, now in between the wheels, in between the wheels, he says. So yeah, Dungeons and Chronics. I've specifically stuck this here for you, because I know you're in an awkward spot. But for anybody else who's sort of finding themselves in a tough spot, Fighting Fantasy app, go check it out. the thing I love about it so much is that the fighting fantasy books are like hardcore stuff. I think my mum was just glad that I was going to read a book because I had so much trouble reading as it was. But the artwork in it is phenomenal. And the ideas behind the adventures are really good. It really does remind me of heavy metal albums in terms of artwork. So yes, I have a lot of room in my heart for fighting fantasy. Much appreciated. Good. So yeah, one of the biggest problems I've discovered is going and buying the physical fighting fantasy books. Difficult to do, but since most of you are on your phones, on the computer, but on your phone, since now you can get it on your phone, like there you go. I only learned that little tidbit after watching somebody doing like a history of fighting fantasy. I don't know how many videos I watched. It was like a Twister plot. I had to actually go from one video to another to find everything. And when he mentioned the fighting fantasy app, I was like, yes, yes, that's what I want to hear. Okay. Let me see if I can just tidy up that little bit in there. If you're wondering why I'm putting on paint and then put more paint over the top of that, I'm missing bits. That's what's going on here. Okay, that yellow might be finally ready for me. Oh, God, I hate yellow. At least putting the orange on probably was a good idea to start with. No. Try again. Come back to it. It's got to dry a bit more, I think. That yellow's not going to work otherwise. Okay. Right, studs there, studs there. There's a bolt there. I'm just going to do the bolt on the top of that. So I'll do it on the same side. Bolt there. This one here. That one there. This one here. And that one. Is there one at the top? There is, isn't there? Okay. And then there's that little bit. No. I'll use a toothpick for that. Yellow just doesn't cover very well. It's very transparent. So it requires so many layers of paint to actually cover. I don't quite understand the chemical concept behind what's going on there, but that's been my experience, is that it doesn't cover very well. Another colour, but not as bad as what I do. I just dipped it in the yellow. What did I do that for? So try that again, Fred. This colour. It's not really doing its thing properly. I'll try again. Mixing a small daub of white will make it more opaque. Yeah, and that's certainly one strategy of dealing with it. I don't do enough painting to know all the little tricks and secrets. Okay, all right. So that's fine. How are we doing? We're doing all right. Okay, so let's try the yellow again, because it's probably dried a lot, and I just need to make sure I avoid the silver bit. There we go. So yes, Warlock of Firetop Mountain. So some of the fighting fantasy titles that I remember that I really enjoyed. That was the very first one. I don't know if it was my favourite. Death Trap Dungeon was quite cool. They had some sorcery books as well, where you could cast spells. Pick your own path, but you learn these spells, and you would use those spells within the book to actually, complete certain sections. The City of Thieves. I don't know if it was my favourite one, but I definitely remember it. Forest of the Lizard King, I believe it was called. It was a cool one. The House of Horror, not my favourite, but one of the most terrifying books under the sun. And I know my brother Sam loved that book a lot, because it really was quite hardcore. And it's exactly what you think it is. you wind up in a house dealing with all sorts of horrible things. And you know how you tell your parents, Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy role-playing games, they're not about demon worship and cults and so forth, like, and House of Hell was all of that. That was the topic. That was all there. You couldn't hide it at all. Funny how things turn out sometimes, but also entertaining, I have to say. Like, I can't think of anything more entertaining than suddenly like, oh, really? That's how it works? Is that what we're talking about here? Yes, apparently it is. Oh dear. The Citadel of Chaos was another one that was really cool. I didn't really go into Bloodbones myself. All right, now let's see what else am I doing here. We're going to put more studs. I'm going to put the studs in here along here. This is going to be painful. It's just a dop, dop, dop. Come on. Dop, dop. All right, that's one side. Yay! Hooray! Next one. Can I see it? I can barely see what I'm doing. Friday here in New Zealand, so it means Star Wars Day for me. Hopefully I get to go and hang out with my brother and my mum and watch more of The Mandalorian and more of The Bad Batch. Looking forward to that. Since, for those of you who don't know, I am into Star Wars. I do like Star Wars. You will see a lot of Star Wars on my channel nowadays. Okay. I am going to use a smaller brush and try to get some of this woodwork. I don't think it's going to work that well. I think with if I use a small brush, even a standard size brush, and try to get the woodwork on it, it's going to kind of come off looking a little odd. So, but I'll certainly give it a go. Do I want to use this one, or do I want to use something else? I actually feel like I need to use a much lighter colour. Well, let's try this one first. We'll see if this works, and if it doesn't, then I'll just shift to something else. There we go. Pardon me. Now, I don't know how this... I do not like having to try to sort of dry brush with a small brush, because it's always a disaster, if you ask me. And it's going to probably have very limited success, but with few results that actually show up and are interesting. Yeah, whatever. The differentiation is not very great. I suppose it's doing something, but it's not a lot. Let's try again. Hey, I got to run and do some dinner for the family. No problems, boss, bully boy. No problems. I just wanted to thank you personally for the starter set videos. Your efforts made 20 plus new D&D players here in my city alone. Keep up the great work. So I do have one for the new starter set, Dragons Vice by a Peak. It's not like my other videos. I will release it. So I'm glad that you found those videos useful. I'm hoping that a lot of my newer stuff, which is supposed to be system agnostic and adventure agnostic, are going to be useful to people as well. But they're not actually catching on very well. So we'll see how people feel about them. But yes, at least the Lost Mine of Phandelver worked out for you. So yeah, all the best. My daughter loves Star Wars. Named her dog Chewbacca. Oh my gosh. That's funny. That is so funny. Okay, so it is kind of working. It's just really time consuming. You're barely going to be able to see the difference, I imagine, on camera. But we'll keep going with this. And see if we can make it work. It's just a bit too damp, the brush, I think. Okay, let's put some more of this out and see if that works. Yep, do that. And I think what I will also do is I will actually paint in a line there, so that sort of stands out a bit more. Okay, I'm kind of deliberately putting it along the edge, just so the edge of that actually stands out more than it did before. And then if I do it along the teeth, it kind of blends in a little bit. And oh, is that a silver mark that I've missed? Look at that. It's big silver brush mark. Ah dear. Dogs yum. What do you mean dogs yum? You want to eat dogs? The pigments in the yellow paint don't take well to miniatures. Yes, they don't. Okay, let's do this dark colour, fix this up, and I don't know what we'll do exactly. Maybe we blend it, maybe. Okay, so that's that. And then I was actually using this brush to dry and spread the paint with this colour here. So we'll go back to this. There. Okay. I think that's working all right. And we'll go along that ridge. Same thing. There's minuscule changes, people. Like if you spot what I've done, I'd be amazed. There's a lot too much paint there. Okay. All right. Not too bad. Okay, let's see if I can brush this off a little bit. And then feather along there. I think the wheels are done. Mostly. Yeah, okay, so this bit here. Not doing anything. Let's try again. Hey, gonna find a dragon for your dog. a dog for your dragon, a dragon dog, something like this. Okay, got that bit. Oh my god, I don't think I'm going to get in there. That's too hard. We'll skip that idea. Too much. Brush off, brush off, brush off. Come on. Yeah, washing is definitely going to be necessary. What am I going to do with these horns? I feel like there should be something going on here. They could be silver. That would probably make them stand out a little bit better. Yeah, let's do something like that. Challenge accepted. Oh, okay. Right, let's tackle the horned section. And I'm going to use a smaller brush for the horn section, I think. No, I won't. I will use a larger brush for this horn section, and I will go silver on here. Like that. From the top, what does it look like? Try it again. On the inside. Inside. And underneath. Inside, underneath, inside, underneath. Okay, how's it look? A little rough in places. Okay. My eyes aren't great, but I think that's done it. I think we got it right. Oh, here comes the swords and the dragons, eh? Okay, let's see. What else have we got on here that needs attention? God, do I wind up... If I go inside there and try to put the little silver studs in, it's probably not going to work very well. It is probably not going to work very well. But do I do it? That's the thing. Okay, let's give it a go. I don't know if I can. It's pretty small. So back to Silver Dragon. And see if we can get right in here and get those little bits in there. La da 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 da. Yo. Small brush, a little bit of paint on the tip, and you probably can't even see what I'm up to. That's too much. That's about right. Can I see what I'm up to? Okay. Not brilliant. Probably about the best that my little eyes and hands can do. Is there brown left that I can pinch to fix up that one? This is, yes. Right, let's see. Let's get a bit of this colour and I'll lighten it up inside there. Lighten it up. What am I doing? Don't be stupid, Fred. What an eggy thing. No, don't do it. Just say no. Right, back to silver. Oh, gee, you gotta be kidding me. Angle and position, angle and position. Get in there. Get in there. Well, I know I wasn't very accurate with that. But considering its position and how hard it is to get at, we'll just clean that up a little bit. And where are we? No, this one here. Blob of, okay, all right. Studs in there are done. I don't think that the wood grain in there is going to be a good thing for me to mess with. I actually think that would be a very, very stupid thing for me to do. So I don't think I will do that. Have I done everything I wanted to do with this? It's pretty minimal. I mean, it's definitely fiddly. But I haven't really done a huge amount to this, have I? I think what I might do is I might use some gold. Oh, what's this? I will spare your dog for your bravery. So this is Chiron gold. You can use a gold over some of the bronze sections. Not all of it. It's probably going to be pretty minimal. So you're barely going to see the difference, I'd imagine. But anyway, let's give that a go. So let's turn this so I'm in the right place. Okay. Minuscule difference, people. Minuscule difference. You're barely even going to notice it. And I'll do it again on the other side. I'm just running this along the teeth of those there. Oh, there's studs on that thing there. I haven't painted them, have I? Oh, okay. And is there a stud on top? There is a stud on top. Stud underneath as well. Okay, all right, so edge of gold. Edge of gold. Let's do that again. And a bit more. All right. I've done that. I'll put the studs in now. Will I remember? Cool. That's two down. Can't get it from that angle. Stud on top. You'd think it'd be easy to get at, but It's weird. My eyes are probably not great right now. They're probably getting weaker and weaker as I do this, which is probably why I'm having more trouble. It looks awesome. Oh, I'm glad you think it looks awesome. It'll probably look better once it's got some sort of wash over it, but okay, so I've done that stud, I've done that stud. It's got lots of little details in it, I'll tell you that now. Cool. Let's do it again. The top one. And I hate the eyes. The eyes on it is just... I want to do something else with it. I'm actually thinking I'm going to go to a different colour because the eyes just don't work for me right now. No, wrong colour. That's silver. There we go. Okay, cool. Nice. Alright, so that's that bit done. I'm going to use my gold a little bit more, but I'm going to tackle those eyes because I actually right now it's too much. The yellow just is too much. So I think I'm actually going to go with sort of like a flesh off white color. I think maybe that's a better idea. So I'm going to use zombie flesh to start with. It's not coming out. Why is it not coming out? Let's give it a shake and see if that helps. Okay, now it came out. There we go. All right, let's try again. I don't think red for the eyes is going to work for me. I think red for the eyes is too much. It's too weird. I just don't, yeah. I had thought about it. I do have a couple of reds I could use, but I don't think I like it. And that's put way too much paint in there in one place. Well done, Fred. Well done. Okay, so do I still have the brown left? I do have the brown left. I can patch that. If I just move that around a little bit. It's better. Better. Yeah, I think that's going to be I prefer this. This is going to be better for me. We'll do the zombie flesh. It's not quite so offensive. Yeah, black eyes, I don't think so. Silver like you. Let's see if we can patch this eye a little bit. Okay. Yes, I think I prefer that. I think the off white, sort of the motley color. I'm going to use also skeleton brown bone as well. If it'll come out. Oh, it's completely sealed up. That's why. It's not coming out. Why is it not coming out? It's because it's blocked probably. Let's just push a little. See if that works. Yep, that's all I need. I'm not really going to be doing very much with this. I thought instead I would do something like, where is it? Oh, you gotta be kidding. I missed. I missed again. I missed twice. Like I was aiming for the center and I completely missed on both occasions. Both occasions I missed. Geez, that's weird. How come someone missed twice on the same attempt at this? Okay, let's grab some of this. Quick patch. Quick patch. I mean, the color difference is not that much. It's very minuscule, but I think I prefer the eyes that way. Yep, we'll do that. And where am I? Was there anything else that I had missed? Oh, I was using the gold, wasn't I? There was a few things I wanted to sort of bring out so that they would stand out a little bit more. And these wheels are one of them. Bronze is all very well, but it's just, yeah. I'm just going to hit the edge a little bit with this. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. Cool. That's it. And again. Right, and then this edge there, that edge there. Probably better to go like that. That's better. Do the same thing on the other side. If you think I'm going to do the little studs along that thing, you're wrong. It ain't happening. That's too much. Yeah. I did that. I've done that. Done that. Oh, well, let's do just a little edge along there. Along there. I'll do the same thing at the back. And we can just hit that little bit there that I missed and put the silver on. Okay. Well, I think that's that's it. I think that's got it. I think that is that for today. I don't know what I'm going to wind up painting next week. It might wind up being the Stone Defender, but the Stone Defender looks even worse to paint than this miniature. Like this is one thing to paint in terms of difficulty, but the other one is, it looks even more of a hassle. So Stone Defender, it's going to need to be washed. It's not perfect. I mean, my painting is all right, but you can see kind of what's going on there. I've tried to paint in as many of the details as I possibly can. It's not completely clear on screen. But this here, this is even harder. Look at this silly thing. This robot here is just... I have some wraiths from the Castle Ravenloft book that I box D&D board game. So I'm kind of tempted to do that. So yeah, the here. This is the Dwarven Defender, Dwarven Oaken Bolter, Dwarven Defender. How do I get Dwarven Defender? I don't know. I've got no idea. But anyway, yeah, I'm done for today. I'm tired. I need some food. Things like that. You know, you know how it is. So yeah, I think we are lighting the campfire. I apologize. This is really, really long, but like, you know, the only people who watch these things are people who are into painting anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's all good, right? So yes, I'll be back in a couple of days. You might see me on Discord in the voice chat or the video chat, depending on where my head is at and how bad the weather is outside, or good the weather is outside. You never know. So yeah, big thank you to all of my patrons. Thank you to everybody who took part in the poll today. Thank you for everybody who's been chatting along with me, because it's been fun. I do appreciate when you're willing to sort of share with me. I always enjoy that. Yeah, if you were just watching, thank you too. So look, wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, the night, or the wee early morning, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours, and hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. And apparently a lot of people think that the barbarian needs fixing. But then I didn't give you too many options, did I? And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.